Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the Videntis podcast. It's December 23rd, 2024, and man, oh man, do we have a lot to get to today.
Always a busy news day, it seems.
Always.
Mhm.
Especially this close to the holidays.
Yeah.
So for all you news junkies out there, buckle up because today's deep dive is going to take us everywhere.
Everywhere.
Well, maybe not everywhere, but we're going from a Hollywood scandal to a surprise from the IRS with a quick stop at a heartwarming story on Reddit along the way.
Sounds like quite the journey.
It is. So first up, let's head to Hollywood, where things are not so merry and bright for one of its biggest stars.
Wow. What's going on?
Well, Blake Lively just filed a lawsuit against the production team of her new movie, It Ends With Us.
Wow. What are the allegations?
She's alleging sexual harassment, and then after she reported it, they started a smear campaign to try and silence her.
That's serious.
It is. And to make matters even more complicated, her lawsuit specifically names the director,
And who's directing this film?
Justin Baldoni.
Interesting. I wouldn't have pictured him involved in something like this.
I know, right? He's known for his work on those, feel-good projects.
Exactly. So this could have a huge impact on his career and the film itself.
For sure. And this isn't just some isolated Hollywood scandal. This is a much bigger conversation about power dynamics and accountability in the entire industry.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen similar situations in the past that have led to huge changes in Hollywood.
Yeah, like revised contracts and new protocols for how they handle these types of allegations.
Exactly. The result of this case could establish some really important legal precedents for how studios need to address these issues moving forward.
Definitely. Okay, so let's switch gears now to a story that might have some of you checking your bank accounts with a big smile on your face.
Oh, what is it?
Remember those stimulus checks we all got back in 2021?
Oh, yeah? During the pandemic?
Yep. Well, it turns out the IRS might actually owe you some money from those checks.
Really? How's that?
They're automatically sending out $1.4 billion to taxpayers who missed claiming a certain credit from back then.
1.4 billion. Wow. How much could people be getting?
It's up to $1,400 per person. And what I find really interesting is how the IRS is figuring out who to send this money to.
Yeah, how are they doing that?
They're using these new automated systems to find all the eligible recipients.
So basically, if you qualify, the money should just show up in your account.
That's right. No need to file any extra paperwork or anything. So if you're one of the lucky ones, consider it an early holiday bonus.
That's great. But it does make you wonder, though, what this all means for the IRS and what they can do.
Doesn't it? I mean, think about it. They're using all this data to track down people who are owed money from years ago.
It's like a whole new level of data analysis from them. And it kind of makes you think what this could mean for other government agencies.
Right. Like, could this kind of technology be used to streamline other programs?
Oh, absolutely. Think about healthcare enrollment or even Social Security benefits. There's so much potential there.
Definitely. Okay, so before we get too far down that rabbit hole, let's switch gears one last time to our final story for this part of our deep dive. And this one is a really heartwarming example of how online communities can step up and do amazing things.
Oh, I like those. What is it?
So remember those big online Secret Santa platforms that shut down earlier this year?
Yeah, those were really popular. Sad to see them go.
I know. Well, the Reddit community decided they weren't going to let that tradition just die out.
Oh, that's great. What are they doing?
They basically started their own Secret Santa exchange.
That's awesome. How many people are participating?
Hundreds. It's a true grassroots movement, and it just goes to show how online communities can adapt and preserve the traditions that they love.
For sure. And I think it's about more than just the gifts themselves, too.
Totally. It's about coming together and spreading a little holiday cheer.
Exactly. But you know what else is interesting about this?
What's that?
The organizers are actually thinking about using blockchain technology to make their gift exchange more secure. Right.
Wait, really? Blockchain for Secret Santa? I gotta hear more about this.
I know, right? It's fascinating. So blockchain is basically this digital ledger that can record transactions super securely and transparently.
Okay, I'm following.
So by incorporating blockchain into their exchange, the organizers could create this really robust and trustworthy system for managing the whole thing.
So blockchain isn't just for Bitcoin anymore, huh?
Nope. It's popping up in all sorts of different places.
It really is. It just goes to show how fast technology is changing and how creative people are getting with it.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, it actually connects back to that IRS story earlier.
How so?
Well, they're both examples of how technology is changing the way we interact with each other and even the government.
That's a great point. And before we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want to emphasize that these three stories we talked about, although they seem pretty different, are actually all connected.
I see that. How?
They all reflect these big, complex issues that we're facing in today's world. You've got Hollywood trying to grapple with accountability, the IRS embracing these powerful new technologies, and then everyday people using the internet to keep traditions alive. It's a lot to take in, but it's also what makes it all so fascinating.
It really is. And as we continue exploring these stories in the next part of our deep dive, it'll be interesting to see how technology continues to play a role.
For sure.
Welcome back to the Videntis podcast. We're diving back into those news stories we started talking about earlier.
You know, what's really interesting to me is how each of these stories is about challenging what's considered normal and pushing boundaries.
That's a good point.
We've got Blake Lively taking on a big-time director in Hollywood. The IRS is using new technology, and Reddit users are finding these new ways to connect and keep traditions alive. It's kind of wild.
It is, and it reminds us that change is always happening, and sometimes it comes from the most unexpected places.
Totally. Okay, so let's go back to the Blake Lively case for a sec. I think this has the potential to really shake things up in Hollywood.
I think so too. It's a big deal.
It's not just about her and the director. It could have a ripple effect throughout the industry.
Right. Her decision to come forward and file a lawsuit, and specifically name Justin Baldoni, could encourage other people who've experienced similar things to speak up.
That's what I was thinking. It could give them the courage to come forward and share their own stories.
Yeah.
And not just in Hollywood, but in other industries as well.
Exactly. And this is all happening while the #MeToo movement is still fresh in everyone's minds.
That's a good point, which has already brought about so much change, both culturally and legally.
Exactly. So this case could actually help strengthen those reforms even further, leading to things like stricter reporting protocols for harassment, more thorough investigations, and ultimately holding people accountable for their actions.
I hope so. Okay, so let's shift gears now and talk about the IRS and those surprise stimulus payments. I mean, aside from the fact that getting extra money is always nice, what's really fascinating to me is the technology behind it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The fact that they can pinpoint exactly who to send the money to with that level of accuracy is amazing.
It really is. It just goes to show you how advanced things like data analysis and AI have become.
It makes you think what else they could use this technology for.
Oh, totally. Imagine a world where government agencies could use this kind of technology to make everything run more efficiently.
That would be incredible.
Yeah,
Like, what if we could just get things done with the government without all the hassle and paperwork?
exactly. What if things like healthcare enrollment or even getting Social Security benefits were just streamlined and automated?
Oh, man, that would be a game changer.
Right. Like a dream come true.
But we also have to consider the potential downsides.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, when you start talking about collecting and analyzing this much data, privacy becomes a huge concern.
You're absolutely right. As we embrace all these benefits that come with this technology, we need to be really careful about protecting people's privacy.
Totally agree. It's got to be used ethically and responsibly. Okay, so before we move on to our last segment, I just want to take a moment to appreciate that Reddit Secret Santa story. It's just so heartwarming to see people come together like that.
I agree. It's a good reminder that technology can also be used for good.
It really is.
Yeah.
Especially with all the negativity that we hear about social media these days. This is just a great example of how online communities can connect and create something positive.
And don't forget about the blockchain aspect.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They're using blockchain to make the exchange more secure.
Yep. It's a perfect illustration of how blockchain is moving beyond just cryptocurrency.
It's popping up everywhere.
It is. It's a true testament to human ingenuity and how we can adapt and innovate even with all this rapid technological change happening around us.
Totally. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Technology can be both a force for good and something to be wary of.
Okay, I like that.
It's up to us to stay informed and engaged and make sure the technology is being used to benefit all of humanity. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive today. It's kind of crazy how we started with a Hollywood lawsuit, then we talked about surprise stimulus checks, and now here we are talking about blockchain and the future of giving gifts.
It is pretty wild when you think about it like that, but it really does highlight how interconnected everything is in our world, and how even things that seem totally random can actually reveal these bigger trends that are shaping our lives.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to focus on one of those big picture ideas. Each of these stories we talked about shows how powerful it can be when individuals decide to make a change.
Okay, I like that.
Think about it. Blake Lively speaking out against harassment to the IRS, using data to help people, and Reddit users taking things into their own hands to keep a tradition alive.
Those are really good examples. It's a good reminder that we're not just along for the ride in this crazy world. We actually have the power to shape the future, whether it's on our own or by working together.
Couldn't said it better myself. And I think technology is a big part of that.
Oh, definitely.
It's like this tool that can help us make our voices heard, connect with others, and come up with new solutions to problems. But of course, like we talked about, there are also some risks that come with it.
Definitely. Which is why it's so important for all of us to stay informed and be engaged with what's happening around us. We have to understand how technology works, how it's being used, and what the potential consequences are, both good and bad.
Absolutely. So as we head into the new year, let's make a promise to ourselves to stay curious, stay informed, and stay involved. Let's use what we know and our voices to make sure that technology is used to make the world a better place for everyone.
I love that. That's a great message to end on.
And that's a wrap on today's Deep Dive. But hey, if you want to stay updated on all the latest news and trends, make sure you subscribe to the Videntis podcast. We'll be back soon with another deep dive into something fascinating, so make sure you stay tuned.
See you then.